right, well, good morning, everyone. Let's call this meeting to official order. And Robin, if you would, do our checklist on our roll call.
Okay. John Doddard,
Here.
Matt Montgomery,
Here.
Dolly Holland, Tiffany Reeves,
Here.
Mosley,
Here.
Stacy May,
Here.
Rolando Thacker,
Here.
Hannah Gregory,
Here.
Jeremy Hurd,
Here.
Kevin Moore,
Here.
Rachel Adams,
Here.
Todd Blanton,
Yeah.
and Jennifer Hayes.
Here.
We have it for us?
We do. Well, thank you so much. So our first action item is always, approval of minutes, and we've got, between Matt and Dolly, we're looking for a motion to approve and a second.
Make a motion to approve.
I will second.
Thank you, Matt. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Finance reports for February and March, and we got Colin, and we've got our nice, documentation to look at, so Colin.
Sir, so at the close of business of February, on our overall budget, we were 56% expended, compared to 49% in the prior year. Our admin costs came in at 62% compared to 69% in the prior year. Our adult expenditures were at 66% compared to 28% in the prior year. Dislocated worker program was 40% expended, compared to 39% in the prior year. Our youth program was at 51% expended, and that compared to 49% in the prior year. And then also just want to reiterate that we are at the 20% on the work experience funds that are expiring June 30th. We have reached that 20% threshold that is required by the grants. And then at the very bottom there, you'll see how our drawdowns have been handled with as far as getting Equus covered. So January, we received the invoice on the 12th of February, and then Equus was paid. Equus was officially paid 3/21/25. And then our February invoice was received on the 13th of March. And then just to jump ahead, we paid them on April 10th, for that one as well. Any questions about how February is going?
It looks like, I mean, at the end of February, we should be roughly 2/3 of the way through 8 months out of 12. And it looks like we're running a little bit under, I mean, in most areas, right, of where we're going to be. So, I mean, looks fine. Any concerns?
None from my perspective. We'll jump into March and get a little bit closer. But yeah, I don't have any concerns right this moment. Everything's running as it's supposed to be.
Good.
Yeah, I would still love to see a little bit closer dates as we talk about that, or figuring out our draw a little faster, but yeah, no questions.
On this, I want to say that the state is taking a little more time. So I know on these two, was the issue, not that anything was wrong, it's just that they are taking a little more time. So I think they're kind of understaffed. So, they're working, I think, as fast as they can as far as the state goes.
I can feel that.
Yeah, but it looks like if you're looking at your dates, Tiffany, I mean, the drawdown was submitted on the 7th and they approved it 4 days later, right? But it took us 10 days to pay versus the 4 days the state took to approve. So it doesn't look like the state was the issue for the January piece.
Yeah. Well, Matt, I'll just have to say, so when they approve the drawdown, it usually takes a couple of days for them to give us the money. So I can go back and double check when those dates were for you.
No, and if you want to add a line in there that says we received the funds on that date, right? I think that's fine. I think that it's just that, the story that we tell that it took the state a while isn't the story that these bullets would tell us.
For sure.
So do you want us to we can add a bullet on state approved drawdown and the actual date that the state, we get the money in our account so that they can, do you want us to add that?
I think that would be helpful, because if we're looking at the root cause of where there was a delay, like, I mean, the biggest gap, of course, was the invoice was received on February 12th. I think you needed to wait for us to get together to approve it, I assume, at the beginning of March, or that was what is that, 22 day delay, 3-week delay? That I mean, that's the big gap. But once it was approved, it ran really fast.
Yeah, I think that was just a simple. That would watch that question.
Sure. Yeah.
But we're still at I mean, what is that? That's 37 days. I mean, we're under 45 days, which I know, I mean, Equus started to get antsy, I think, at about 45 days, right? So, again, just because we've been focused on it.
We'll add that one line.
That line, and we're ready to jump into March.
Yep.
So at the end of March, our overall budget was 52% expended compared to 56 in the prior year. Our admin costs were at 70% compared to 82% the prior year. Our adult program costs were at 71%. That compares to 34% the prior year. And then our dislocated worker costs were 46% compared to 42% in the prior year. Then our youth program was at 58% compared to 56% in the prior year. Then, once again, the February Equus invoice was received 3/13/25. We were able to pay them on the 10th of. And our March invoice was received on April 21st. And that drawdown is still in review with the state. It has been since Friday last week.
All right.
I'm sorry, when was it submitted to the state again?
It was submitted on Friday. The March one was submitted on Friday last week. So that would have been, was that May the 2nd?
Yeah. So you created on the 4/28, submitted on the 3rd, or the 3 shift back.
Yep.
This is March, so we're talking about April, May, June, for 3 more months in this financial
Correct.
year.
April,
Yeah,
May,
just
June.
in my simple mind, that's where I see things like we're 70 at 3 or 9 out of 12, right? We should be at 75% if everything was flat. We're at 70. So I mean 71, right? So it looks like we're running below. I mean, we are at risk of overspending is what I would say.
And it's okay to have an extra.
None of these
Yeah.
funds.
Yeah, all the things that we're talking about here do go for next year as well. So, but we're,
Yeah.
Yeah. If you
Although
compare to-
June looked crazy for you guys last year, right? May and June. I mean, those are. When we look at the actuals, the blue line or the blue bar right in the graph, I mean, those.
So it's like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
there'll be a lot of things in June for sure that just finish out our year. Like we'll be paying performance measures for Equus and a few other things that just come due at that point.
Yeah.
I think we're on track.
Yeah. And if you want to get even deeper, just at the very end, I just want to remind everybody, we do have the total list of our grants that are still out there. The far right-hand column shows the total balance that's remaining in those grants, and the far left-hand column shows you what those grants are. Youth program, youth admin, adult program, and so on.
Matt, you got any more questions about those 2 reports?
No, I don't. Dolly, do you?
And no, I'm good.
All
Thank you,
right.
Matt.
Yeah, I'll make a motion then to approve it.
Thank you, Matt.
The February and March finance reports.
Okay,
I'll second that.
thank you, Don. And all in favor, of course, Mr. Matt. Going to the motion. Thank you, Don.
Yes, sir. My pleasure.
Okay, we've got, Robin up for the, BGWIB membership and setup for fiscal year 26.
And, the charge for that is $250, which it's been for a few years now. The discount we get for people going to SETA pretty much makes up for what it costs, and then the extra stuff, so. Just wanted to see if you guys wanted to
So
renew
we're
it.
talking $250 renewal.
Yeah, for the year.
That's nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I make a motion. We approve or renew the BGWIB membership in SETA.
I'll second that.
I will third that, and so.
There we go.
Thank you. And now we've got the board members to attend the fall set, which will be in Biloxi, Mississippi. And Tiffany's going to walk us through that conversation.
Yeah, we're looking at possibly maybe, one WIB member and one Leo, and maybe one or two, board staff, simply because, Trump has sent down the executive order that they are now looking all into all the workforce investment, programs. And I don't wanna take and say we're gonna send a bunch of people and then something go wrong, right? I know this last one, we had several go just because we had sessions that we were, presented at and all that stuff. So yeah, just maybe one, and if something goes wrong with the Doge, you know what I mean? Then there's an adjustment to it. If they don't affect anything, then maybe we can open it up to a few more. But yeah, that would be my recommendation right now for the vote.
Yeah, I didn't want to derail the meeting there, but I am very curious on like WIOA funding and what's happening, or if you've heard anything there. But we can leave that for later.
Yeah.
So right now, the budget's for one, and 2 to 3 staff, right?
One WIB member, one Leo, and let's say that a Leo doesn't go, then that would be the 2 WIB members, you know what I mean? And then 1 to 2 staff. If everything remains as normal and there's no big changes with any funding or anything like that.
That's
And is what you're asking for an approval for us to include that in the budget for the next fiscal year? Okay. Yeah, I'll make that motion. Unless
Thank you.
Dolly, you were excited to make that motion, then
Yeah, I'll second that. Second.
thank you.
So currently, thank you, I'm not a problem here, so all in favor, aye. So that's what we're looking at. If things brighten up, things change, or things darken up, we'll change it another way.
Yeah.
So.
Fingers crossed.
Yes. All right, so now we've got our caterer for a joint meeting, and that's Robin, and I like food, so talk to us.
Yeah, so, of course, our meeting, was decided, it's at the Berea Events Center, right there on the main street. So looking at area caterers, I have, excuse me, I have 3 quotes for you. First one is from Lee's Famous Recipe, chicken, biscuits, that type of thing, is $422.
That's key.
The, Berea College Caterer, if we go with them, we're looking at pasta, both without, Alfredo without meat, and lasagna, breadstick salad, that whole thing is $302. And then there's something called Just Love, that's a little sandwich place, across the street, and their quote is $344. So we're actually got some really good prices here.
I'm thinking that all these prices are cheap. I'm taking like a few people out to eat.
Is that right?
I spent $500-$600.
Yeah. No, and this may vary a little bit when we go to the actual thing, because I just estimated at 50, just so we can use the same number and compare the prices. But closer to time, we'll know more exactly of how many are gonna attend, but
The numbers are crazy cheap.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little biased, I'll be honest, as a Berea College graduate. But the Berea College piece would be probably student workers making, you know, or, you know, like that kind of thing, and serving. So they get off with some cheap labor. But anyway, so I maybe I should recuse, because I was formerly involved with one of the organizations.
But one of the things is everybody that we've talked to says that the Berea cafeteria is really good food.
And that is the lowest price.
It is low
I've
price.
spent the more years than I want to count, 31 years since I left, trying to recreate their turkey tetrazzini. So I'll be honest there. It's a
So let me just go over it real quick. Again, Lee's is 422, Berea College, 302, and Just Love is 344.
And then they're catering 50 people for that price. That's crazy. That's crazy.
and Lee's was always awesome growing up, right? They sponsored all the Little League baseball teams and everything else. So I just don't know Just Love. So again, I'll let you all vote.
Here's where I was. step in.
I make a motion to approve Berea.
There you go. And I was gonna go down the same path, just because we were gonna be in Berea, why not celebrate being the Berea, right?
Yeah.
Celebrate the local, so Lee's is a chain.
Yeah.
And I don't know about the sandwich place, but let's go with the Berea College.
Yeah. Okay, I'll second that then.
There you go.
So
All in favor?
yeah.
Berea wins.
All right.
And I don't think that's cheap.
Was Berea College the one that redid their bid?
Yeah, when I actually went there and looked at their place and talked to them and had this price laid out of like 350. And I asked them for the official bid and they came back at 1,400. And I said, wait. What's going on?
That would be more in line with what I would assume.
But that is their price. They said, oh, we made a mistake. We pulled the numbers for the buffet. So if you had a buffet with all the pasta types and everything, and they made it hand served it and everything, it would have been 1,400. But
Let's do that.
Look, I'm like,
I will say that the Berea is choice, but if I was gonna eat chicken, Lee's is probably my favorite place to eat chicken.
Okay.
And John, that Lee's in Berea is locally owned, so the owner is from Berea.
I've been out of state and people talking about going to the Mount Sterling Lee's. But I didn't, they said, they found out where I live. Oh, you're close to that Mount Sterling Lee's? Like. All right, so that takes care of our action items. Thank you guys for that. Now we've got our ESP, as it's acronym here from Jeff.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Good deal. Well, don't pay attention to the report in your packet. It's March of 24. So, just a small error on our part, but you can see that March of 24, we had 48 enrollments, and Robin's going to send out the March of 25 report to you all after this meeting. But our enrollments for this year is 194. So it's quite a bit more than it was a year ago. And 107 of those are WIOA enrollments and 87 are non-WIOA. So the non-WIOA is putting young Kentuckians first. So the numbers are increased just a little bit as we expected and anticipated with, regrowing our program back over the last year and a half. So some of the highlights that our team's done over the past few months, the big highlight is putting young Kentuckians first. It's an initiative that we're trying to enroll 200 young adults by June 30 of this year, and then 200 more June 30 of next year. And so we are at 87. That's a large number to get, but our enrollments, all of those 87 came the second half of the year. So we're on On track to enroll a lot. Hopefully we'll get to 200. But we're working with high schools across our 17 counties to identify young adults who don't wish to pursue post-secondary, that just want to go straight into the workforce. And we're providing them with a small certification if needed. We're working with Amtech for a potential June 2nd quick start program. We just completed our Lincoln and Garrett nurse aid cohort, and that was 18 to 24-year-olds that wanted to get nurse aids. So we successfully wrapped that up. BCTC wrote us up a nice little success story that I'm going to include in this coming month's report. So we're actively involved with these 18 to 24-year-olds, which is one of our biggest initiatives. We also have 2 of those young adults at Mercer County at the water treatment plant doing paid internship and like a little pre-apprentice. And then right now we have 19 total paid internships that are active. So we've got 19 individuals on our payroll that are out in the field working. And then, and we've just continued our regular outreach. Of course, we're wrapping up the program year. None of the funds in our budget are set to expire June 30. That's been confirmed by Colin. So we did fine on our funding. Our enrollments obviously have increased substantially. And then I have a handful of successes in this packet that you guys will receive, but I have one to share that's not in the packet. I've been glowing over it all weekend, but Will Walden was enrolled with us in 2021. We enrolled him from the Shepherd's House. I've texted Kevin and Tiff this over the weekend. But we enrolled him from the Shepherd's House. We spent about $6,100 on him in a paid internship. When we found Will, he was walking to work at Wendy's, and he had struggled with a heroin addiction for many years. And so he'd been in and out of recovery. Christian at Shepherd's House, who we worked really close with, was working with Will. But anyway, long story short, on Friday, now Will is a trainer for horses, and on Friday, Will's horse placed 3rd in the Oaks. So that's a huge success. And Will was actually one of the participants that we invited to our joint annual meeting in 21. So we had 2 participants show up at that meeting, and Will was one of the ones that had been invited to attend that meeting. So I guess it just goes to show that these seeds that we plant, we don't take credit for Will's success. Like, we played a small piece of his puzzle. We funded him in a paid internship. So Christian and those guys at Shepherd's House and Stable Recovery, they mentored him and worked with him ongoing. So, Will gets the credit for the hard work that Will did. But we did have a small piece of that puzzle and helping him get his life on track. So I don't know. I think that's just a huge success story. I'm going to write us up another update to his success. And so I wanted to share that with you all. But Robin will send out the updated report. I apologize. You all have 2024. Do you all have any questions for me?
No, I think it was a plot to make the numbers look better this year, right? You had to remind us how it was last year to show us the big growth this year. So
It was intentional.
Look forward to that success story coming up. Thank you. So now, I guess we're looking at Todd.
All right, good morning, everybody. In your packet, you have the March of 2025 report. Walk-ins and then referral numbers, the number of referrals still keeps growing. I just ran and did the report for April. We had 167 here in March. There was 203 in the month of April. So the number of referrals that we're getting from everywhere is still just growing each month. We had a couple of rapid response sessions. In March, Danvers Scientific in Winchester, Young and for sales, and we're still dealing with the Army Depot folks there in Madison County. You'll see all the hiring events and DR events that all the staff went out to. I'm not gonna go through each one of those. and then each of the rapid response sessions is kind of gone over. The rapid response sessions for the depot have been an ongoing thing. This was probably the biggest group that we've had. There were 68 people over 4 sessions. We met with the depot and the chief of staff down there this last month, dealing with actual DOD employees. So as all this winds down by September, these groups are gonna go larger and larger, and you're gonna see more people coming in for assistance, and our help. And then, community resource minutes, Tip and I recorded one for the local plans, and then I recorded one with the community action, partnership to promote their scholarship program. But that was all for March. The numbers for April, like I said, are still going up, but we are, actively out still in all of our libraries. We did close down the Georgetown location, if you all remember. And I just met about 2 weeks ago with the Scott County Public Library, so we can get an access point set up in Scott County. And we'll also be going to the, adult education office there in Scott County, BCTC. So we keep that presence in Scott County that we've had. We'll be doing at least probably 3 days a month between both of those locations. But we're gonna get the Scott County Public Library certified as an access point. I just met with their director and a couple of their employees just about 2 weeks ago. So we'll still have that presence in Scott County. Their library is very interested in bringing us on. They do a lot of workforce stuff in-house. And so we look to strengthen that partnership with them and continue to have a presence there in Scott County too. But I'll take any questions if anybody has any.
Nobody speak. Cover this way.
Well, I like it.
Yeah.
That's right. Thank you.
Todd? Open discussion, Jennifer's still on the line there. Jennifer, do you still want me to hang out after this meeting, talk to you some more?
No, I just wanted the dates for a quick start, so you've got it to me, so I'm good to go, John. Thanks.
And then open discussion more. Matt, you and I will be reconvening here in just a little bit, right?
Yeah, to read the like 200-page proposals, right? As I was going through, I'm like, whoa, okay.
Yeah. Well, one was less than 200, but the other one covered way more than 200. I opened it up, and thought, wow, so. And,
Yeah.
so
No, just real quick, just any feel like I don't, you have to, not ton of detail, but like 30 seconds on like WIOA funding. Is that being, does it look like it's going to be intact for next year or this year or?
So Rachel, I'm gonna hand off to you, because I know that you've got more. Where Rachel came from the state and everything, she has some more connections. So, and she may have some more information. So there you go, Rachel.
Thanks, Tiffany. So Matt, so this is what I know, for now, is as of Friday with the potential budget, they have cut, workforce. We don't know how it's gonna come down to the states just yet. My personal opinion from reading, and researching, I do think that there will be funding there. But I do think that there will be cuts. But I think for the next 2 years, it will be good. After that, I think you're looking at block grants maybe coming down to the states rather than it coming from just one piece of funding. I do know that they're looking to cut adult education completely, because I'm not sure if you all are aware, but the way that adult education works is they get funding, but they also get state funding through the state legislature. So if they cut the federal funding, it's usually a match. Then they will be completely relying upon the state funding. But I do think workforce dollars will be there, but I think it's going to be a cut.
Yeah, I mean, I know that that'll be a deeper dive discussion for a future date, but that'll be interesting discussion on what that means for us when we know what that is. So thank you.
Yes, sir.
so we'll have many more discussions as things progress, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With that, any discussions from the group, or any discussions from the audience out there? Matt, you know what I'm gonna ask next?
Oh, yeah, I'll say, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Dolly, do you second that? All right, thank you, guys. I'll see you.
Thank
soon,
you.
Matt.
Talk to you in a bit.